but we picked 5 of them out of that. 5 of the best. So excellence, dedication, integrity, commitment, and innovation. It's now 3 years, I've got it down. But I sort of live by those and the legacy, and so they're sort of etched in my brain. We go through sort of it's a rigorous competition to pick the honorees. It's a formal application process. This year we had people, we needed 2 references from other staff. And as always, we had really excellent pool to pick from. And what was sort of interesting is the 3 people we're honoring really rose above. Everybody was great, but the 3 that ended up winning were really at the top of all the candidates. So we're thrilled by all of them, and we'll talk about them in a little bit. But this again is honoring a legacy, but the people who get this, it's not just that they've done a good job, it's not even that they've done a great job. It's that they've really gone above and beyond their duties to represent those 5 specific qualities that I just talked about, but a lot more about Ed. And people who have kept that tradition alive and who, each and every day are really going way and above their job duties. And that's what it's about. So we're thrilled to be able to honor them today. I'm going to introduce Kilty Bedford. Director of Geffner House, definitely a coincidence that it's named. That was another honor that was bestowed upon Ed to rename really one of our flagship programs that's right on 42nd Street after him. And Kilty is going to introduce our first award.
So many people here know Eddie, and I could talk probably for the rest of this meeting or this celebration. So I jotted down the things I knew I wanted to say so that I could remember to say them. Eddie is an excellent employee, a trusted colleague, and an extraordinary human being. Every day at the Geffner House, he shows that it really is possible to be professional, to work hard, have empathy, patience, and a sense of humor in a really demanding and stressful work environment. And Eddie is consistently willing to take on new challenges. He does it all the time, and he succeeds with flying colors. When there was the blackout in New York City in August of 2003, Eddie orchestrated the entire, I was on vacation. Not that I would have orchestrated it. I always seem to be on vacation when this happens. Anyway, Eddie orchestrated the entire evacuation of 7 floors of tenants, and he personally carried down the disabled and the elderly down 7 flights of steps. When the fire escape steps. When the fire department came several days later to review what had happened, they said they couldn't have done a better evacuation, which I think says a lot. Eddie doesn't just go the extra mile, he goes the extra 100 miles. He took it upon himself, without anyone asking, to become certified as a fire department, fire safety director. And he also took it upon himself to, this I have to read because I never remember, obtain a boiler license and a sprinkler standpipe license. Just learned what those were. But anyway, he did it totally on his own and took the test and got certified. His integrity and judgment is appreciated by all of us at the Geffner House. Hardly a day goes by that I don't peek into Eddie's office and someone's in there talking to Eddie, getting some guidance, getting some advice. From staff to tenants, people are always popping in to talk to Eddie. He is a person who unselfishly and consistently gives of himself, not receiving and not looking for any kind of acknowledgement, even though he so rightfully deserves it. That's why giving him the award named in Ed Geffner's, whatever. Name for Ed Geffner.
Honor is the word.
The word is honor. That's why I wrote it down. It gives us a chance to recognize recognize and appreciate our colleague who so exemplifies the spirit and values of our agency, most notably that we really are our brother and sister's keeper. It's been an honor to work by your side, Eddie, for 15 years. Congratulations.
This reads that the Ed Geffner Staff Excellence Award presented to Eddie Colon, Operations Coordinator, Geffner House, for his pioneering spirit, professionalism, and willingness to go the extra mile.
Yay!
And this award also comes with a check. If a couple of you remember a couple of years ago, because it was new, we said the check was in the mail. We got our act together. Have the check.
No chairs. No chairs. First, let me say thank you, and I really, really appreciate this honor, especially coming from Mr. Geffner, which I respect with my heart. I say that say that I'm truly honored, but this cannot be accepted without everyone here in this room, in this company's help, because I did not do all this by myself. Guilty, she
Don't say anything.
allow me every day to make decisions to help the people that we work so hard to help change their lives and put them back on track. Ernie Talbot over there, who not only opened the doors for me, but pushed me through them. He said, you can do it. My little sister over there, who is my rock, man. She stands beside me through every trial and tribulation I go through. Liz right there, that forget about it. But I don't think I'll be standing here. Of course, Mr. Geffner, whose inspiration and whose vision of helping people that can't help themselves made all this happen. And to everyone here, I really, really appreciate this, and let's all keep up good work.
So next we hear Barbara Hughes, who's the director of all of our food service programs, including catering company Comfort Foods and the Culinary Arts Training Program. She's going to talk about Ronald Johnson.
Yeah, it was actually a real honor for me. I nominated Ron for this award, and I'm thrilled that he got it. We've always been very hesitant to talk about the Culinary Arts Program as a successful program. You hear us saying it a lot now, but I think we always thought there was sort of a jinx to doing that. And, you know, how a lot of these agencies and programs, they're going on spouting off about themselves, and the next thing you know, they've folded. And we know how tenuous things can be for us too. But a couple years back, we started saying we're a successful program. We started to have numbers to show that we really are, and Ron is at the heart of that success. I've been here since 1992. Ron came on in 95, I think 18 years, and we've been together a long time. He is the ultimate role model. For those of you who see him around Varick Street, his office is the next step. The folks that come to him looking for jobs that have been trained for 6 months are looking at Ron and saying, wow, and he's given them the advice of his lifetime. And the real success is whether we can put people to work. And that's what he does day in and day out. You know, we're all about people and doing work for people, and if I had to name the ultimate people person, it would be Ron. From like being in the elevator with him and him talking to whoever's standing next to him. Or we go out to visit whatever office it is and he's struck up a conversation with a receptionist. And it's that kind of person that has to create jobs and get them for our folks and keep them and inspire them to want to work. And he's just an amazing person. He has made this program amazing, and he is at the heart and soul of it. And excellent is a perfect word for what you've given to this agency over the years. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So this reads, the Ed Geffner Staff Excellence Award presented to Ronald Johnson, Employment Coordinator, Culinary Arts Training Program, for his positive outlook, inspiring successes, and unwavering support of our clients.
Wow. This is a really outstanding award, and especially growing up with Ed. People don't know that in 1995, Ed and Josh interviewed me for the job. And Ed, he didn't say a lot of words, but he just would stare at me. And I knew what he was thinking. I knew he was like just listening intently. Because you know, everybody that know Ed, you know, he just looks, he gives you that look. You kind of like he's studying you. And suffice to say that the next day, Josh called me and I got the job. So I obviously did something well. But Ed is really, he's made the, not just culinary arts, but Project Renewal into a viable program throughout the city. And, you know, just seeing him firsthand, you know, he used to have, annually, he would have a barbecue up in Bear Mountain. So he would interact, and at that time we both played basketball. So one thing about Ed, he's competitive. You know? The thing with Ed is that he always chose me because he wanted to win. So he's smart in that. Ed had a two-hand set shot, so you know, two-hand set shot was obsolete back then. That was in 95. And suffice to say, he would make it. So I set the pick and to shoot his shot. And that's the way it was. But he's always been supportive of me. At one time, I was in guest speaker, Common Ground. They had invited me down to Washington, D.C. for this conference where they had all programs from all over the country. The Senate, the legislators was there. And initially, Ed didn't have time. He wasn't going to go because of his schedule. But then I got a call from Mary Lou. She said, Ed is, you know, he's going to be able to go. I said, well, that's great. But she said, but Ed, because of that, because he was delayed, he wasn't able to get a hotel room. So Ed and I almost became roommates. So I was thinking to myself, wow, he's the CEO, and is he going to take the bed? I have to take the couch. This floor, the last floor, but when I got down there, Ed said he had gotten the room. I was like, but the next day, when I did my presentation, Ed was the first person there. He was right across the room. He observed, and then afterwards he was gracious. He said, "You did a good job," and just have the opportunity to spend time with him was great. I think Ed remembered those days. And I just have to tell you another story. This is about Ed used to have annually. He used to have Christmas parties. Okay, so one particular Christmas, we had a company that catered our food. But it was lousy. So Ed decided to stop payment on the check after the party. So company decided they was going to sue, and it was small court claims. So we decided, Ed agreed to go to small courts claims. But at that time, we went to the people's court. So at that time, yeah, Ed Cox was the presiding judge. So I have to thank Ed, because afterwards, even though we lost, afterwards, because Ed, you know, those who don't know, he has a law degree, so he wanted to represent himself. So anyway, afterwards, about 2 months later, the People's Court, I mean, I had relatives all over the country and friends. Oh, I saw you on the TV. I didn't realize, but thank you for giving me that family. But I'm still looking for the copy you promised me of the show. But, you know, we had good times. I just seen Ed has always been gracious. You can go in his office, people went in his office, whether it was consumers or staff, you know, he knew people by name, treated from the maintenance person to management, didn't care what your position is, he treated you the same way, and that's important. And it was more like a family atmosphere. Just to have those situations with Ed, seeing things, you know, was very important. And sometimes I used to think Ed was in a laboratory somewhere, because he would come up with all different kind of ideas. One time he came up with an idea of a tilapia farm. Now, how many nonprofits CEO would come up with a tilapia farm? But really, Ed was ahead of the curve, because after that, I didn't even know what tilapia was. But after that, tilapia exploded. Everybody started eating it, and just imagine, we'd have been eating fish today. Yeah, that's right. But in all seriousness, this is a great honor. The staff, Cherry, she's been here for almost a decade. She does an outstanding job. Chef, my man, you know, great cook. Yana, the rest of the staff do a great job. And Barbara, she's always been supportive and flexible, let me do what I can do. And Stephanie's always trying to figure out ways to get money for the program. And one thing, Ed has always been supportive from day one, which is very important. And, Mitchell has taken over the mantle and really been supportive of our program, and it takes people to be committed, and I'm proud to say that I'm continuing to work for an organization like this. Thank you. Thank you.
Next we're going to have Shannon, the director of 3rd Street, and Nana, who's been the director of Kenton Hall, going to be congratulations to her for going to be the director up at the newest shelter in Bronx Boulevard any day. To introduce David Rodriguez.
I'm gonna, wow. All right, I'm really nervous because I'm horrible at saying how I feel, especially out in public, so. I remember when I left Kenton Hall, I actually cried when I told David I was leaving. I worked with David for 5 years. It was amazing. I'm just gonna talk about a couple of things that made him special, that made him stand out for the rest. Callahan inspections, for those of you who know what they are a headache. And David would come in like the hero he was and take over with Callahan, make sure everything was up to standard, and really just make sure that I just sat in my office and bit my nails and panicked until we received a perfect score. So I'm forever grateful for that. I forget what year we had the blizzard, but I know most people couldn't make it in, and David walked over the Williamsburg Bridge to make sure he got in so that way he could update E-Time. So I was very grateful for that because I got my paycheck on time. You know, something major that he took over at Kenton was operations. For those of you who have to manage 25 residential aides, it can sometimes be difficult. I was happy to put that burden on David, but he did it with ease, and it was amazing. was a huge help for me, gave me a lot of time to, focus on other areas of the shelter, so I was extremely grateful for that. Hurricane Sandy, David made it in somehow. He stood in traffic, drove into the shelter at night, picked me up about 10:30 at night, took a drive through Gotham City, and he picked up food for the residential aides that had been there for days at a time. And he made it a point to visit the shelter 2 or 3 days that we were pretty much on lockdown. He's really stepped outside of his responsibilities to make sure that the program overall needs were met. And last but not least, David is not taken away from the Director of Social Services that I work with, which are both here. I love you guys. But David's been my rock. We had a client death in a shelter, and I remember calling. I should have scratched that one off. I remember calling David that night, and I remember him offering to come into the shelter and sit with me to deal with the whole ordeal.
So, in addition to everything that Jana said, I think that David is an example of how somebody can grow in the agency if they have the passion for the clients, the ability to learn, the motivation to keep growing. David came in 2003 as an RA, and after that his responsibilities have been increasing and increasing. He took the role of the administrative assistant, then grew to be administrative assistant / director of operations, and recently last year he took also the administrative assistant of the both detoxes. I have to say, when we were reviewing the job descriptions with Telia and Lee, they say this is the longest job description that we have in Project Renewal. But he does that in a way that you don't even feel how much he's doing. I think that today is kind of symbolic. David was there in the corner when he came in with his family and all the support and love that he has, but it's difficult for him to get the credit of all the things that he does. If you are in Canton Hall, you say, oh, David is in his office doing nothing. You don't hear much from him, you don't see much of him, but it's because he's taking care of things before they become an issue. I agree with Shannon. When I came new as a director at Canton, I didn't know anything about Callahan. He would come every day to report to me. He was not really reporting to me. He was teaching me. I learned from him. He took care of everything, and he does it in a way that I don't think that he even realizes how much he does. But he basically saves the day many times. When we talk about innovation, I think one of the reasons why we have this Geffner Award, sometimes it comes to small things. We were trying to find out how we can have the Narcan kit on us all the time. What can we purchase and see online? David said, why don't buy just a keychain? The same day we went, we purchased. So sometimes innovation is just a small idea that can make a huge difference. And I think that's what David does every day. A huge difference in the shelter, in all his co-workers, and in all the clients without even realizing it. So I have never seen him as emotional as he was when he found out that he had won the Geffner Award, when he didn't even know that he was nominated for. And I think that he really appreciates it, and he really deserves it. So.
So this plaque reads, the Ed Geffner Staff Excellence Award is presented to David Rodriguez, Operations Coordinator, Administrative Assistant, Kenton Hall.
Everything.
The short version, for his leadership, selflessness, and enduring loyalty.
I don't know what to say. I want to, so many people want to thank. My job is, this celebrating, us here today, but it takes a whole bunch of people to, to congratulate, for everything we have done. It's a team effort. You know, thanks for my wife and my son that came, you know, support me. Love it. My staff, I mean, our staff, you know what I'm saying? They're not only staff, they're not co-workers, they're also friends, you know, and that's a good environment to work in. There's a lot of people in this office right now that I do get on people's nerves. Jessica. You know, but like I said, my job is, you know, without them I cannot do my job. Stephanie always looked out for me, you know what I'm saying, always trying to, you know, build me up, help the company more, and that's what I want to do in return. Geffner set a good example for everybody who, you know, to keep on trying, and there's never, you know, there's no way to back down. Like I said, I thank for all my co-workers, friends that came to support me. It's really appreciated. And, you know, like I said, I always wanted a job that I could help, you know, anybody out, work with people, help them out, make them better than what, you know, what they started with. And this is a perfect job, perfect organization. So I am a little, you know, stumbling, but, you know what I'm saying, it's because of how much excitement I have built inside. Like I said, you know what I'm saying, it's very appreciated. I'm very grateful, and
Let's give one last round of applause for all three of the. So Ed's going to say a few words. I'm not going to say too much more about him. You know, we've already talked about those special qualities. I was thinking about this today, and he was mentioning that, you know, some new faces around, so people don't necessarily know him. So I was thinking of, there's a South Park episode, so bear with me for a minute, where I forget who the character is sitting around, and they're coming up with new ideas for, like, shows. And, you know, the punchline is, Simpsons did it. I don't know if any of you have seen that show. So it'd be something weird, like, you know, the flowers at the Ed Geffner Award turned into giant planets and stars, and it was, that'd be a great episode. It's like, Simpsons did it. And the whole show is like 100 things, like, Simpsons did it. And that's how I feel a lot when we hear about, you know, programs going on, you know, we've got this new idea, like the state's talking this, you know, coordinated care, we're going to have, like, case manager and help people, like, one-stop shopping. It's like, Project Renewal and Ed Geffner did it. And, you know, housing first, like, people, they shouldn't necessarily, you know, spend 2 years in transitional housing, and they have to be clean and sober before they go to permanent housing. No, this is, people are still talking about, is that a good model or not? Again, Project Renewal did it, Ed Geffner did it, you know, we've done it. And I can give 100 examples of that, where things that people are talking about now are things that we did 10, 20, and 33 years ago when Ed first got here. So it's a little bit different spin on you know, your qualities, but it's true today, it's going to be true tomorrow, it's going to be true in 33 more years. So it's a great honor to have you back, great honor to honor you through these phenomenal the honorees today. And with that, please say a few words.
Well, first I want to thank you for that lovely introduction. Not that I'm claiming to deserve it, but still, I'll take it. And you know, you're continuing very well. I mean, you've got Clark Boulevard going, you've got Villa Avenue going, you've got 5 vans now in the medical service. Keep it up. 33 years is a good number. I mean, it's always great to be back, and what's truly wonderful, and I get slightly serious for a moment, especially in climate like this, financial climate, the political climate. We're an organization that has always taken on the toughest customers, people who did their damnedest to destroy themselves, and yet we've taken on the job of helping them to figure out a way to restore themselves to a decent life and an enjoyable life. I don't just mean that they're going to conform to some standards that we've set for how you ought to live, but to restore them to self-respect, to taking pleasure out of life instead of dodging bullets all the time. And you people, all of you, the staff, from top to bottom, and every job in the organization, have accepted that responsibility and done it very, very well. I'm proud of every one of you. The 3 guys who got the awards, I mean, I know them all, and you know, a couple of small comments. First, Kilty, you forgot to say Eddie's photogenic. And Ron, you promised me a long time ago you could take Stephen Jones off the dribble.
Oh, wow.
David, all I know about you is you are a rock in place, and you are as solid as can be, and you're a tremendous asset to the organization. Now the programs, what do these guys do? I mean, this is, you know, like this is an easy job. Okay, so Eddie works at Geffner House. For those of you who are not terrifically familiar with it, It's a building with 300 rooms, single rooms, 300 plus single rooms. And it's got a collection of people who range from addicts who may or may not be clean, people with very serious mental illnesses, people with both issues, and people with a range of other problems that are getting them into a single room occupancy housing. Oftentimes receiving a welfare check, getting rent subsidy of some sort. And believe it or not, these people can create problems. And even if they're not creating problems, forget about the problems for a moment. Okay, they're going to create problems. But they have their own problems that they have to be helped with and managed. And working in that environment, day in and day out, in effect 24/7, because you never know when something's going to happen. And believe me, there are plenty of things that have happened over the course of its history, at night, weekends, not during normal business hours. Eddie has been there and has always produced. And he's been a wonderful friend, a colleague, and a great asset to the organization. Ron again, works in a program. It sounds terrific. We produce food, we feed people, we do good meals, we make good desserts, we cater fancy events and so on, but what goes on behind that? Who's doing it? We have a staff, good cook, good social service staff. Sure, we have a staff, but the people who are coming into that program are people who are coming out of the shelter system, and people who are getting welfare checks, people who've had hard lives and have their own major problems that have to be dealt with. Ron has succeeded getting them placed, getting employers to be willing to take them, and keeping them in their jobs. Again, terrific thing. Kenton. Kenton is a relatively new program on the programs of Project Renewal, the ones I mentioned. We responded to the city's request. They had nothing to do, they had no place to put people who were homeless and were on methadone. These are people who are heroin addicts, who are now on methadone, and they were all street people, and the city didn't know what to do, and they asked us if we would run a program for them. We said yes, we did it, and that's where David sits. These are people who, A, have to be kept under medications. Medications have to be monitored. Their general health has deteriorated, and that has to be dealt with. They need to figure out some way to live into the future when they're finished, and they should finish with being in a shelter, how to get them placed, and possibly even employment. And David has been Johnny on the spot in all those tasks. So to all three of you, I say congratulations. And to everybody else in this room, keep it up. I know it sounds, I know all the pressures coming from government at all levels, changes in demands, changes in requirements, changes in regulations, changes in thought processes, and as Mitchell said, of course, a lot of it I heard this afternoon at another meeting with Stephanie and Susan. It sounds very familiar. The pressure's coming, it's budget questions. It's money before people, and we still have to keep on plugging and doing what we do and doing it well. Thank you all for what you do.
Thank you.
So in closing, I just want to congratulate, again, the three winners, thank their families for coming out, which is very nice for that support, and thank the staff that put together this great party, all the people that put together the nominations and did the selection process, which I said was quite rigorous. And please eat food and mingle.
All right.